Okay, Chapter 11, Unit 7, Surface Area and Volume of Spheres. So circles, balls, whatever you want to call them, basketball, baseball, golf ball. So I want you to go ahead and push pause and read through all of these details about what is part of a sphere. So it's really important that you understand a hemisphere is half a circle. You've heard that in social studies and in other subjects. So just look at all of these, read all these definitions so that you understand what we're talking about with spheres. Okay, the surface area of a sphere is equal to this, 4 times pi r squared, where r is the radius of a sphere. So how do you think they figured this out? And I think this is awesome explanation. So it says to understand the formula for the surface of a sphere, think of a baseball. The surface area of a baseball is sewn from two congruent shapes, each of which resembles two joined circles. So the entire covering of the baseball consists of 4 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's kind of how they got the area, and that is the approximate formula. So I think that's really, really cool. Okay, so let's calculate the surface area of the sphere. So they gave us the radius. We know that the formula is surface area equals 4 pi r squared. So I'm going to go surface area equals 4 times pi times 8 squared. That's 64 times 4 pi. So the surface area equals 256 pi inches squared. Remember, surface area is squared because it's an area, and that would be approximately 804.25 inches squared. Okay, the second problem is a little bit different. So the first thing you have to notice is all they gave you was the circumference. So since I know that circumference is diameter pi, or 2 pi r, which I'm going to use because I need the radius for my surface area, so the circumference equals 2 pi r. So I just set 12 pi equals 2 pi r, divide both sides by 2 pi, and I get my radius equals 6. So that's kind of cool. Now I can go back and plug that into my surface area formula. 4 times pi times 6 squared is 36. So the surface area equals 144 pi feet squared, or approximately 452.39 feet squared. And again, don't forget we're talking about feet squared because it's surface area. Okay, here are 4 problems from your journal, so go ahead and push pause and try these if you want. Remember that the formula we're looking at is surface area equals 4 times pi r squared. Okay, so if I was going to calculate this one, it would be surface area equals 4 times 25 pi, so it's 100 pi centimeters squared, or approximately 314.2 centimeters squared. Okay, over here you need to stop and notice that they gave you the diameter. So the first thing you want to do is find your radius. So the radius is half of that, so it's 4.5. Now I'm ready to plug it into my formula. So surface area equals 4 times 4.5 squared times pi. And so that calculates out to be 81 pi, okay, or approximately 254.5 inches squared. Okay. All right, now for this one, you have to think about it. Since you're only finding a hemisphere, you can change the formula. So I'm going to go 1/2 times 4 pi r squared, and I can do 2 pi r squared. So that's what I'm going to do. So, and don't forget they gave you the diameter again. So now we've got to use the radius. So 2 pi radius squared. So my surface area equals 2 pi. Okay, because 1 squared is 1, or approximately 6.3 feet squared. Okay, so again, I have a hemisphere, so I'm going to use this formula again. So surface area equals 2 times 11.2 squared times pi. Okay, and that multiplies out to be 250.88 pi, which is approximately 788.2 feet squared. And you can put the feet squared on the pi form too, and that is totally acceptable. Okay. Now we're going to find the diameter of a sphere. So notice they want you to find the diameter, and they gave you the surface area. So we're going to go surface area equals 4 pi r squared. So 20.25 pi equals 4 pi r squared. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by 4 pi. The cool thing is the pi's cancel, and when I divide, I get 5.0625 equals r squared. Then I am going to have to calculate this. I'm going to take the square root of both sides, and I get 2.25 equals r, which is really cool. So that is the positive square root, but remember, I'm looking for the diameter, so I have to multiply it by 2, and I get 4.5 centimeters is the diameter of my problem. Okay, so don't forget all the little details at the end. Okay, here's a problem from your journal where they want you to find the diameter, so do it like the one we just did. Push pause and give it a try. Okay, so we've got 144 pi equals 4 times pi r squared. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi, 4 pi. The pi's cancel, and I get r squared equals 36. Nice. So r equals 6. Now that's my radius, so I'm going to multiply it by 2, and diameter is 12 centimeters. Don't forget that part. Okay. All right, so finding the volume of a sphere. This is very cool, FYI. Push pause and read through this. Has to do with Cavalari's principle and a bunch of other things, but it's very, very cool information. It's how they found the volume formula. So read through it. Okay, so here's the volume of a sphere that they figured out on the previous page, and we're going to go ahead and use that to find the volume of this soccer ball. So I'm going to go volume equals 4/3 pi times 4.5 cubed. So I get 4/3 pi times 91.125, and that equals 121.5 pi inches cubed, and approximately 381.70 inches cubed. So there you go, finding that. Okay, so on this, so now we're going to do some problems from your journal on page 382. Go ahead and push pause if you want to try these on your own. Otherwise, we'll get to work. So first thing I want to do here is find the radius. The radius is 7.5. Then I'm going to plug that into my formula. So remember that the formula we're dealing with for the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. All right. So we're going to go, volume is 4/3 pi times 7.5 cubed. So volume equals 4/3 times pi times 421.875. Okay, those are parentheses. And that calculates out to 562.5 pi inches cubed, or approximately 1,767.2 inches cubed. Okay, it all depends on what they ask you for. Okay, this one's got the radius right there, so we're ready to go. Volume equals 4/3 times pi times 13 cubed. So 13 cubed is 2,179. So 4/3 pi times 2,197. And you multiply that out and you get volume equals 2,929.33 pi centimeters cubed, or approximately 9,202.8 centimeters cubed. So those are kind of a mouthful. All right, this one, they gave you the radius again. So we're going to go volume equals 4/3 pi 3.5 cubed. Okay, so that equals approximately, actual, not approximate, 42.875. So then we multiply the 4/3, and you can either multiply this number by 4 and then divide by 3 first, your choice, or multiply by the fraction, either way. So you're going to get 557.17 pi, okay, or approximately 179.5 centimeters cubed. Okay, and for the last one, first thing we have to do is find the radius. The radius equals 5, okay? So now we're going to plug it in. Volume equals 4/3 pi times 25. 125. That's 5 cubed, just so you know. And then you multiply and divide that out, and you get the volume is equal to 166.67 pi. It's a repeating decimal. Inches cubed, or approximately 523.6 inches cubed. So at this point, I would suggest you give your answers in both ways so you get practice going back and forth. Again, your answer might be slightly off if you have a pi button on your calculator, or if you're dividing by a longer pi number. Okay, so these are 2 more problems from your journal. They are thinking problems, so stop and read them before you attempt the problems. So notice it says find the volume of a sphere with a surface area of 256 pi. So how are we going to be able to do that? So we know that volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. And we know surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So we can use the surface area to get the radius, which is the one number we need over in the volume. So I'm going to go, the surface area is 256 pi equals 4 pi r squared. I'm going to divide both sides by 4 pi. I get r squared equals 64. So that gives me a radius of 8. So then I'm going to plug that in, 4/3 pi, and that's 8 cubed. Okay, we're plugging in the radius. So we get volume equals 4/3 pi times 512, which gives us the volume equals 682.67 pi inches cubed, or 2,144.67 inches cubed. All right, so now we're going to do the same type of thing. Try one yourself if you haven't done one so far. Okay, so we're going to take the surface area is 400 pi, and we're going to set that equal to 4 pi r squared. Divide both sides by 4 pi. We get 100 equals r squared, so r equals 10. So that was nice. So now we've got volume equals 4/3 times pi times 10 cubed, which is 4/3 times pi times 1,000. So we do the multiplication, division, we get the volume is 1,333.33 pi, must be a repeating decimal, or approximately 24,188.8 feet cubed. Okay? So, notice the difference in the answers. Make sure that you're looking at what you have to do first in order to solve the problem. So we've only got one composite problem here. And okay, so we finally are ending up with another composite solid. So I want you to look at this picture and figure out, what is it? So I can see a cylinder here, and I can see what looks like a hemisphere in here. Make sure you don't mistake a hemisphere with a semicircle. A semicircle is half of a circle. A hemisphere is half of a sphere. There's a big difference. So when I want to find this solid, I would take the volume of my cylinder minus the volume of the hemisphere, and that would give me the volume of my composite solid. Okay? Can any of you think of what this would be? Like, have you ever seen one of these? This is immediately what came to mind for me, a steel drum. And they are very cool to listen to. So, first thing I'm going to do is find the volume of my cylinder. So the volume of my cylinder is the big B times h. So that is pi r squared h. Okay? So that would be, the radius here is 2. So it's 4 times 2 times pi, and that equals 8 pi. Okay, so that's the volume of my cylinder. Now I'm going to find the volume of my hemisphere. Now, the cool thing about this is I want you to think of the formula, 4/3 pi r cubed, and you're going to cut it in half, so times 1/2, and that equals 2/3 pi r cubed. So it just saves us a little bit of work by simplifying that at the beginning. So now we're going to go 2/3 times pi times our radius is the same, and that's 2, so we're going to say times 8. So the volume of our hemisphere is 16/3 pi. So now to find the volume of our composite, we're going to go 8 pi. We're going to change that into fractions. So that'd be 24/3 pi. This is the volume of the composite. And we change that into thirds, minus 16/3 pi. And that equals 8/3 pi, inches cubed if you want, which is approximately 8.38 inches cubed. So that is the volume of our composite. And with that, we are done with all of the units for this year. So, have a great day.